Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Katherine Ambrose. Today we're going to talk about senior downsizing moves and making those big transitional once-in-a-lifetime moves that might come along. Today I have with me Jan Brito from Washington, D.C. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Katherine. It's so delightful to be here.
I would imagine that the overwhelming issues that come with the mature life task of making a downsizing move are the same in the state of Kansas as they are in Washington, D.C.
That is absolutely true.
You're a realtor, but you also have some of the credentials that mean that you really specialize in working with seniors, certified senior housing professional, certified senior downsizing coach. Tell us a little bit about what you've experienced with seniors making a big, let's say, cross-country transitional move.
Well, I've actually worked with a lot of seniors in that position where they're going to be with grandchildren or adult children and want to leave their home of 50 plus years behind, and of course have to deal with all the emotions and issues that seniors in Kansas do. And the big thing is the stuff. That's always the first question. I can't move, I have so much stuff, what am I going to do with it?
How can people break that down into something manageable? How can they prepare for a big downsizing move like that?
Well, we actually do a Downsizing Made Easy seminar, which breaks it down into 5 easy steps, and the first of those steps is make a plan. So it's always a lot easier if they know where they're going when they start this process. And for the case of cross-country moves, obviously they know where they're going. They're going to be with their children and grandchildren. But some folks that come to us have no idea where they're going. And just the whole process of getting started is paralyzing and overwhelming. So we meet with them, and we don't do a listing presentation these days. We go in and have a conversation, really get to know them, what their needs are, what their desires are, what their timing is, and then just start with small steps. And often we like to encourage them to decide where they're going before anything begins, because once they can get excited about where they're going, things fall into place a lot easier. Then of course there's those who just want to age in place but want to do a lot of decluttering.
How does one go about deciding where they're going to go? Why is that important to know exactly where you're going to move?
Well, I think it's important for a number of reasons. One, like I said, if you can get excited about where you're going, it spurs you into action, and it's not quite as overwhelming because you're excited about the new place. Another reason to make a plan is because you want to do it while you are still in control of your destiny and you're making decisions for yourself versus one of your children or a doctor. It's important, I think, to plan ahead before it becomes a crisis move, before you have a fall or an accident or something, so that you are the one who's in control and making the decisions.
Sometimes that might mean moving when you're a little bit younger, not letting that cognitive decline or physical decline really come into play, because it does limit your options.
Yep.
And we find that when it comes to decluttering or preparing to downsize, until you know where you're going to move, it's hard to make decisions because you need to know how many rooms you're going to have, what the square footage is. Once you know where you're going to go, what can you do? What are some tools that you can put into place to help figure out what we're keeping and what we're not keeping?
Well, one of the options is to use a professional move manager who can come in and help you sort through the items, decide, first of all, I think it's important to know what you're taking with you. And once you can mark those items, then it's kind of easier to figure out what to do with the rest, whether to have an estate sale, whether to donate, whether to give to your children, which in most cases they don't want it anyway. So I think that's the key.
That's a hard thing to deal with too. If you have things that you really want your children to want, and if they're not able to take it, or doesn't fit into their lifestyle, doesn't fit into their home. A lot of kids are moving for jobs, and they might be making a lot of moves and trying to kind of travel light a little bit, or they just have their own style.
Yeah, it's true. And that can be emotional because you've been saving the china for years thinking you would gift it to your daughter, and now she doesn't want it. So,
and not a lot of young brides or young people pick out a china pattern like many of us did.
Right, that's true.
And so that heirloom china, you might hope that somebody in your family wants it. But if you can't find somebody that wants it, then what? How do you get over that?
Well, like I said, it can be emotional, but once you can break free from the attachment to the china, I would consider an estate sale. I would not recommend trying to do a yard sale They're labor intensive, they're stressful, you won't realize a profit to speak of, but you could get an estate liquidator in to give you an idea of what the value is for the items that you do want to discard.
And sometimes the value might not be what you're expecting. That it could be, there could be something in your home that's worth more, and there could be things that you think are worth a certain amount
That are worth
might
a lot
not
less. Exactly.
be. So it's more about the overall value of everything there. And how do you explain that to people, the overall value of everything together?
What I usually tell my clients is to leave it to the professionals who know where there's value. I certainly am not that professional, which is why I surround myself with resources that I can refer my clients to. But I think it's important to have someone who really knows the value to come in and take a look. And like you said, some things are worth more than you think and some are worth less. And but you need to have that dose of reality, I think.
So Jan, how would you know what professionals to trust to evaluate your coins or your jewelry or your art or just your things in general?
Well, you could do a little research on your own to see what items are selling for, and then get recommendation from whatever professional you're working with, whether it's a realtor or a move manager. And I know myself, when I gather partners, referral partners, I thoroughly vet them, and I actually attend estate sales to see how they're handled before I agree to work with anyone.
Because you're probably scared too.
It's my reputation on the line. I want to make sure they're professional and that they know what they're doing, and that they handle an estate sale well, that they respect the person's property, that they're friendly to people coming in.
So you're looking for people that have resources. Could be a move manager, could be a downsizing coach, could be a financial advisor. What are some other types of professionals that might be able to help you?
Well, there's professional organizers, there's estate attorneys, elder law attorneys. You know, it can sometimes be surprising how many older adults haven't thought about their end-of-life documents. You know, maybe they have a basic will, but there's the, you know, the health directives, the living will, trusts perhaps. Who's going to be your trustee? And even, here's another thought, what if something happens to your trustee? Let's plan ahead and have a substitute trustee already in place.
So this is kind of all part of the same thing, simplifying your life, and that's kind of just getting all your ducks in a row.
Right.
And so that's part of it too. And so some of the same people that you'd go to help with those things probably have good resources to evaluate your art to see if it's worth something, or evaluate other things, or explain to you why maybe that China isn't worth what you thought it was worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how other things altogether, maybe the tools in the garage and some of the other things, how it will all add in together and be something great together.
Absolutely, for the total house, yeah.
What are some of the options beyond just downsizing and decluttering when you're thinking about aging in place or making a move someplace else? What are some of the options that people are considering?
Well, I think one of the big ones that I hear most often is single level living. Eliminate the stairs, eliminate the throw rugs that are trip hazards. Get rid of that bathtub that it's hard to get in and out of, you know, a step-in shower, for instance. And there are various types of communities out there that people can consider depending on their needs and their cognitive level at the time they're looking. Continuing care communities where they can go in on an independent basis and then phase into other levels of care as they need it. There's memory care if they're already into a cognitive impairment. And there's lots of different options. Some younger adults that are still feeling very independent may just downsize to a condo. But again, it's the single level, and that's what simplifies everything for people, not dealing with the stairs.
Just trying to keep yourself safe and more
Yes.
comfortable. And if you were going to think about, well, I'm just not ready yet, what should they know so that they can really decide if that's a good stance to take? Because you could wait until you're ready to move into independent living or ready to move into assisted living, but what's the danger in waiting too long?
Well, the danger in waiting is you may not qualify for the area you want to be in. So that's why I go back to make a plan. Start looking at places early. Even put yourself on a waiting list early so that the place you want is, they know you're there, and when they get to your name on the list, if you're still not ready, they'll move you down the list and go to the next person. It won't go away, but you need to qualify for independent living.
What do you mean qualify? Are you talking about money?
Well, money is one thing, but they also are going to assess your cognitive ability and whether or not you're able to handle what we call activities of daily living. completely independently. And some people might think they're more independent than they really are. And when they go to get interviewed, they might find that they need a little light assisted living.
So someone might qualify to move into independent living because they can take care of their activities, daily living, they're independent. But if they wait too long, they may no longer qualify. Now they have to go to a more expensive assisted living.
Right.
And sometimes people wait too long for that and don't qualify for assisted living. How can you not qualify for assisted living?
Well, I think you need a higher level of what they call skilled nursing care. So, pretty much round the clock attention.
So there's definitely criteria at these different levels that you have to
Absolutely.
meet. So it's not just what you want, but it's also what are they allowed to let you move into too.
Absolutely. And that's why it's good to start early.
We're going to bring in Willie and Stacy Nelson from Kansas City. They do the same type of work, and we're going to hear a little bit from their perspective on how to prepare for that big move. Now we're going to visit with Willie and Stacy Nelson from Kansas City, Missouri. And you two help people make these transitional moves in your market, your area. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about planning ahead. How do you know when it's time to start thinking?
As soon as possible. The sooner you plan, the more choices that you have. When you think about it, do you want to choose the design for your life, or do you want to have the choice made for you? And the sooner you start planning, the more choices that you'll have.
So oftentimes people might think, well, this is my plan. I'm just staying here. This is it. Is that realistic?
No. A lot of people would like to stay in that place, but sometimes that's not living their best life. Living your best life means you can get around the home, you enjoy the home, you have socialization with other people, and sometimes people can be very isolated in their own home and not really realize it until they've come out and become a part of the community again. So I think living your best life could mean making a change.
And sometimes a change, it's a fresh start. We get lots of fresh starts throughout our life. And the show's empowering seniors, so I like the idea of let's have another fresh start. And another fresh start, there's something new to look forward to. What can they look forward to when it comes to making a change?
Really, it's all the fun things. I mean, many times they're really not excited about going out and having to make new friends, but once they do, they're just we see them light up. They're super excited about that experience. Many times once they get there.
Do you think sometimes that people are surprised the new energy and happiness they get from making a move?
They are. They absolutely are. A great story had a bit of a sad ending, but it is a great story. One of our clients, she was super excited about moving into an independent living community because her best friend was there. And her best friend was kind of leading her that way because she was telling her about all the great things that she was going to experience there. Ultimately, in the end, she wasn't able to go because she had a slip up her stairs on the night before she was to leave. So she probably waited a little too long, but I know that for her, it was her best friend talking about all the great things about that community.
So she got excited, but maybe it was just a little too late because she didn't get to move into that community. What did she do instead?
Instead, her family had to pivot with her, and she first went to a hospital, and then ultimately she had to go to assisted living.
Do you think that maybe if she would have moved sooner that she could have prevented that fall?
Absolutely.
I mean, you never know. You could fall anywhere.
You can,
And where did she fall in her home?
It was actually the night before her move. They had removed the lift that she was going up and down. They removed it that night before. She had just come from having her hair done. She was super excited, and she fell going up the stairs and actually broke her hip.
Oh my goodness. Because she had been using the lift before.
She'd been using the lift before.
So maybe if you're living in a two-story and you're using a lift to get up and down the stairs, or you live in a two-story and you're just living on the main floor because you can't go up and down the stairs, you probably waited too long. If you think about spending a mega chunk of money to put a lift in the house, probably that's not the right house to be in. Do you
That's a
think?
good flag. Yes, that would be. There's lots of times when it's good to make a change. Sometimes in our type of, as certified senior housing professionals, you think about moving to a community, a senior community with lots of people, but you can also move to a single family home. You can make more than one downsizing move. You move from the big family home to a all on one level home that maybe has maintenance provided. Enjoy that community for a while, and then later make a move to a senior community. Think of it as stages. You know, when your kids are growing up, we do elementary school first, then junior high, and then high school. This can be, you have the big family home, you move to the next stage, and enjoy each stage along the way, but plan it yourself. Make your own choices. Don't have that made for you.
Because you could live in a one-level villa, you're buying your own food, ordering your own food in, cooking your own food, and you're good there for a time. And then maybe later you choose to move into an independent living where food's provided, there's lots of social activities, and there's rides here and there if you want rides, so you could still drive. Either way, you know, or you might be stepping up to assisted living where you're getting some physical assistance.
Well, and these days there are so many options. Like you mentioned, having food delivered. That's an easy option. Or if you want to have a home health person come, it depends on what your activities of daily life, which ones you're strong in. If you might have a little trouble with your medication, have someone come in once a day and help with that. If you have trouble with the cooking, have the food delivered. There are so many things you can do now. But if you're at a point where you're not able to, enjoy the new options available to you.
And you have to just ask about what options.
Right.
Ask at the doctor's office, ask around, watch the show hopefully, and get different ideas and kind of get clued in to what you can do so that you can be comfortable in the home you're in or move into something better, be comfortable there, and maybe do these graduated stages and avoid falls, hopefully, you know, avoid some of the things that might cause you to have to skip the independent and go right to assisted or skilled. So.
I think a lot of people are afraid to make a move. They think, well, change is hard. Change is hard for all of us, but they're afraid they won't like it. But I can tell you of the many clients we've helped, the less than one hand, how many were sad. They love it there. They make new friends. They meet new people. They get involved. It's as if you see them bloom again. And that's a wonderful feeling to be able to help with that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and because they made the decision themselves.
Right.
Because if somebody else is making the decision, they might be pretty grumpy about it. But if they've created by design where they want to live, then they're going to be happier and more excited about it.
The one person that I was thinking, so I couldn't say everyone because there was one, and it wasn't her choice. And so she was unhappy for a while, but eventually she settled in. But that's the only one of all of them I can remember.
I think that's what happens. It needs to be your choice.
She was told what to do.
Yeah,
and
nobody
she
wants-
didn't go for that.
Nobody wants to be told what to do. Yeah, so take care of yourself the way you'd look after someone else and make good decisions for yourself would be a good step. And if you don't like where you move, guess what? You can move again. People do that all the time. It's not like you're making one last decision. I'm making this big move and that's it. This is where I'm going to stay, because the truth is that people will move and they'll change apartments, they'll change buildings, they'll do different things. It's a lot easier to move later after you've had a big downsize and you don't have as much baggage, let's say.
And there's so many people that can help you now. Move managers and like even the moving company. Let people help you. There are so many resources available.
So it sounds like people in Missouri have some of the same issues that we deal with in Kansas.
It's pretty universal.
It's pretty, it's overwhelming, but it can be a lot better than you think. It could be very important for the quality of your life and the quality of your family's life too. So your family knows that you're in a good place and happier, and maybe
they
they don't
know
have,
you're safe.
Yes, and maybe it's less work on them too because they're not helping you do everything.
I think one of the things that's really important is that they find professionals in their area to help them through this stage, through this move that they're going through. There are great resources in different areas, and I think it's important that they find, especially like with certified senior housing professionals, I think there's usually at least one in a city, and I would highly suggest starting there.
And I was just thinking, whoever coined the term independent living, isn't that brilliant? Because that's what it is. This is about making independent decisions, making good decisions for yourself, and staying independent and healthy and happy as long as possible. And I think being a good example for the generations behind, and say, oh, Grandma was always cheerful. Grandma was a good sport. Grandma played this game. Grandma did this. And Grandma moved on her own. And those kind of things can inspire your loved ones for decades after you're gone. That's something that I think about a lot, is the legacy that you're leaving. Well, thank you for sharing these universal truths and just practical tips with us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Now let's get back to our conversation with Jan. So Jan, after you have all this figured out, you know where you're going to go, it's time to make the move. What do you do? How do you get people to help? How do you get your family to help? Or is that even a good idea?
Well, there are professionals who can give them the help they need. I mean, let's face it, most adult children don't have a lot of time, as you mentioned. They've got families of their own and full-time jobs. So, and they're not experienced in this process. So there are professionals who can guide them along the way.
What a load off to know that the burden is no longer on making my kids do it, or it's not a burden on the kids because mom and dad or grandma and grandpa can get some help that they need to accomplish their own move. It's very empowering. If we're talking about empowering seniors to be able to accomplish their own move with help, and the kids can pitch in where they need to or wish to, but it's also something that a couple can do on their own.
Sure.
Or someone could do on their own with the right people.
Not only is it empowering for the seniors, but it saves oftentimes the relationship with the children and relieves a lot of stress.
It is stressful.
And overwhelming, and that takes a lot of that away.
And so what have you experienced with, say, a project manager or a move manager helping a senior, and how that's worked out for the senior and their adult child?
Well, I can share an example with you from my own practice. We were helping a woman move, and her daughter had already said, I'll come into town on the weekend and help you pack everything up. Well, mom had hired a move manager. So the move manager was there when the daughter arrived in her jeans and sweatshirts and sneakers, ready to get on the floor and pack the boxes. And she saw that, oh, everything's under control. So she took mom out to lunch. They had a great visit. They did a little shopping for the new place. And then the next day, the move manager went to mom's new place, had the bed made, picture sung, everything was ready for her to just make it her new home. And so it took a lot of stress off of the mother-daughter relationship. They were able to have some quality time together, calming, relaxing time.
They could calm each other. A daughter
Yeah.
could calm mom.
Right.
That's why a more important job is helping calm mother and enjoy mother than actually being the physical labor.
Exactly. No, and taking the stress off the daughter as well, because she's probably stressing over, what do I need to do to help mom? Can I do it right? So having those professionals around makes a big difference.
And it's good to know there are people like that out there.
Yes.
So whether they're in Kansas, at the Capitol,
Right.
Thank you so much for being on the show, for traveling here to educate, equip, and empower seniors in Kansas.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Again, I'm Katherine Ambrose, and if you have questions or suggestions for our show, you can reach us at 316-686-4500 or email us at empoweringseniors@kpts.org. Until next time, I'm Katherine Ambrose, and thanks for watching.